I'm Adam David Long of LawSnap, and welcome to another edition of the Legal Engineering and Design Update. The whole world runs on contracts, but we all know that contracts don't always work because we can't always trust the person on the other end of the contract to hold up their end of the bargain. So maybe you make a purchase and you finally get what you paid for and it's not what you paid for, or it's broken, or it's the wrong part. Or on the other side, you do a job for somebody and you do everything you say you're going to do and they don't pay you. Or maybe you work for a big organization and they need to install a brand new huge computer system and they hire an expensive outside consultant who comes in, works for a while, but can never get the computer system to work. In each of these cases, the problem is that you can't always trust the other side to do what they say they're going to do, to hold up their end of the bargain. But what if we could use software to build and manage trust? What if we could use software to help solve this problem? Well, we can with a new type of software called a smart contract. Now, a smart contract is a piece of software running on a decentralized network of computers that will manage certain aspects, or perhaps all the aspects, of a transaction. So let's walk through how it might work with a fairly simple example. Let's say Brian, the buyer, wants to buy a vintage electric guitar for about $1,000 from Sarah, the seller. Now, before we get to the smart contract angle on this, let's think about what Brian and Sarah are each thinking going in. Well, of course, they're each thinking they don't know if they can trust the other person to fulfill their ends. So Brian's worried that he can't trust Sarah to send the electric guitar as advertised. And of course, Sarah's worried that she's not going to get paid. So let's take a minute to look at how right now they might manage that lack of trust. Well, of course, the first thing each one of them could do is try to ask around, try to investigate the reputation of one or the other of them. So, for example, Brian might look to see if there's any reviews of Sarah's business. Sarah, on the other hand, might have a rule that she'll only do business with somebody who's been referred to her by somebody she already knows. Now, a second possibility is that Brian or Sarah or both might rely on some kind of third-party intermediary. So, of course, we're all familiar with eBay or Amazon, and what's going on in a transaction there is that eBay or Amazon acts as an intermediary, maybe not a perfect intermediary, but definitely an intermediary. So Amazon lets you rate sellers. eBay lets you get a guaranteed refund under certain circumstances. Again, none of these systems work perfectly, but it's one of the ways people address the problem now. Now, a third possibility is that Brian and Sarah might enter into a formal contract, perhaps a written contract that specifies exactly what happens. It's going to specify return rules, going to specify exactly what's going to get delivered, payment terms, a lot of things to specify there. But of course, that doesn't always work either. Formal written contracts aren't perfect either. They can get kind of expensive to enforce contracts. So, for example, if Brian feels this isn't what he ordered, he may want to take Sarah to court. That may not be so easy. It may not be worth it for only $1,000 transaction. Who knows? Maybe Sarah's on the other side of the country, maybe on the other side of the world from Brian. So that doesn't work either. And let's talk about a new type of solution to this problem brought about by this type of software called a smart contract. So here's how things would work if this were handled through a smart contract. The idea is that the smart contract is independent of Brian and of Sarah, and it's handling certain aspects of the transaction. So let's walk through how that might work. We might set this up ahead of time so that Brian sends his money not to Sarah directly, but to an account that's controlled by the smart contract. And then the smart contract will follow however we program it to act. It will review what happened, verify that the delivery in fact happened, could even conceivably verify that it was the right product delivered and delivered on time and to the right location. And then and only then will it release the money to Sarah. And going forward, we could even, from the beginning, program the smart contract to handle other kinds of eventualities. So, for example, let's say the delivery never shows up. The smart contract might have instructions to wait, I don't know, for 4 weeks. It's up to us. We can program it how we want. And after 4 weeks, it could return the money to Brian. And the point is that both parties going in can trust the smart contract to handle perhaps all, but if not all, certain aspects of the transaction, and that helps build and manage trust between the parties. And what this means is that we can vastly reduce the costs brought about by lack of trust for making contracts happen, making contracts work. I'm Adam David Long of LawSnap. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Legal Engineering and Design Update.